In Better Than Before, I talk about the multiple strategies that we can use to change our habits. And one very effective strategy is the strategy of distraction. Distraction is when we purposefully redirect our thoughts away from one thing to something else. Because when we're trying to stick to our good habits, often we start to think very hard about one thing that's like leading us away from our good habits, so we want to think about something else. Now, people often assume that cravings are going to intensify over time. But what research shows is that most cravings, even very strong cravings, tend to diminish after about 15 minutes. So with distraction, you can just say to yourself, well, I'm just going to distract from myself for about 15 minutes, and then I'll see how I feel. And often if you do that distraction, especially with something physical, it works really well because it can be sometimes hard to just distract yourself mentally. If you're doing some kind of physical activity, that's helpful. So one of the things I do is I send out book plates. People can request signed book plates for me. Some people want them personalized, but some people just want them signed. And so one of the things I do when I'm trying to distract myself is I'm like, why don't I sign some book plates for 15 minutes? And what I often find is that by the time I've done that for 15 minutes, my attention's gone. I've wandered off to do something else, and I forget about whatever it was that had got me craving. Another friend of mine told me that what she did when she has cravings was she would put like a coat of clear nail polish on her nails, because she said it was an activity that took time. And then once her nails were wet, like her big thing was like bags of chips and things like that. She said, well, you can't put your hand in a bag of chips or a bag of cereal if your nails are wet. So that was a very good distraction for her, something that she always had in her back pocket. Now, one of the things about the strategy of distraction is you really want to turn your attention to something else. You don't want to try to suppress a thought, because there's something called ironic rebound, which is the harder you try not to think about something, the more you will be thinking about it. And I've often experienced this at night, because I'll be lying in bed awake thinking about the fact that I don't want to think about the fact that I can't fall asleep, and then I'm so preoccupied with the idea that I can't fall asleep that I just get so agitated I can't possibly fall asleep. So it's better to think about something else entirely. Try to redirect your attention elsewhere. And one thing that's good about distraction is you're not saying no to yourself. Whenever we say no to ourselves, we start to feel deprived. And we start to feel deprived, that's when we start telling ourselves, well, I've earned it, I deserve it, I need it, and wanting to put ourselves into balance. Deprivation is not good for habits. But with this, it's like, I can have it in 15 minutes. If I still want it, I can have it. When I just in a little bit later, I'm just gonna delay. And a friend of mine who really loves to shop said that she uses this when she's shopping. And she'll go around a store and maybe she'll see something that she wants and she'll just leave it on the shelf. And she tells herself, well, I'm going to finish my shopping. And then if I still want that thing, like 15 minutes later or so, I can go back and get it if I want. Usually by that time, it's like, it's too much trouble. I've lost interest. Like, I don't really want it that badly. Anyway, she hasn't said no to herself. She's just said, like, well, if I want it, I'll go back for it in a little while. But in the meantime, she's busy, she's thinking about other things. She maybe even forgets about something that she had seen when she first walked into the store. So when you're thinking about fighting cravings or temptation, just think like, well, what's something that I can think about? How can I distract myself for just 15 minutes? And then it's much easier to stay on target with the good habits that you want to form.